Hi, and welcome back Till Death Do Us Watch Party. Who came up with that name?
I think it was me. And then I think as we started saying it, we were like, there's got to be something better.
But now we're stuck with it.
Not necessarily.
No, it's fine. I still like it. It's just...
It's kind of corny.
Silly.
Because we're not really having a watch party per se.
No,
so.
But, I like the Till Death Do Us part. It's punny. Yeah. But tonight we're reviewing The Legend of Vox Machina, Season 2, Episode 5, Pass Through Fire. And this time we pick up and we're treated to a new flashback with a new set of characters. So at least the twins are getting a little bit of a break. This time we're getting a look back into Keyleth's past, where her mom is about to leave on her Aramente. I always mess up that word. Sorry.
Aramente.
But that's basically their rite of passage to basically master the four elements as they are part of Druid royalty, effectively. So I always got kind of joked that Keyleth is a Druish princess.
Funny. She doesn't look Druish.
Right? Sorry. But that was always the first pun that came to mind. But Keyleth is very upset to see her mom go, but she leaves her with the words of wisdom about how fire can't hurt them, which will turn into very important words for the rest of this episode. Then we kind of hurry back to the rest of the gang, and it appears that they're building some sort of shelter because they're still in a very cold area. If I recall, they're still kind of north of Vasselheim, because Pyra is very close to Vasselheim, and that's where they're going to end up going. But they're building a wooden shelter underneath a rock outcropping, so they can kind of build up, make like a faux cave to have like a fire and then try to build up warmth. And as they're gathering wood to do that, you see a glimpse of a broom, and then they're looking for Grog, and Grog is having a little squat out behind another set of rocks, talking to his sword.
And people keep catching him doing it, and they keep believing him. Like, this guy, I can imagine in game that he's just like, Travis is like talking to this blade, and people are like, what's that? And he was like, nothing. And he's like, roll a deception. And it's like, I know in our games, if one of us is lying about something and the other players are like, usually our GMs are like, if you don't believe him, you don't believe him. You don't have to roll against each other. But sometimes we will do it just to see how.
Yeah. I've only felt like I needed to do that once in game personally, but that's because I believe the other person was extremely metagaming the situation. Even if he was right.
Yeah, but it's just...
But there was no reason to believe something untoward had happened.
Yeah, but I mean, you have the biggest lunkhead, who I imagine has the worst deception.
Well, deception is not based off intelligence, it's based off charisma.
Yeah, but it's usually...
Typically.
Yeah, well,
but he also plays off the dumbness so well that sometimes they give him the benefit of the doubt of maybe he's just that dumb. There is a lot of, Grog is kind of dumb a lot of times. So I feel like that they believe that sometimes they were letting that kind of go on. And I think Scanlan even says something that's like, yeah, Grog's just really dumb at some point, either in this episode or maybe it might have been the next one.
When he was speaking to
Pike.
Yeah.
Because Pike is the only one who's really picking up there's something off about the sword. But it's a humorous moment as Grog is pooping. Scanlan thinks he's talking to his poop. And instead he's talking to the sword, and Scanlan sings him a song to help him poop.
And I thought that was funny. Can you play me a little song? And he was like, "Oh yeah, no, that's why I became a bard, to sing for people as they relieve themselves." I thought that was pretty funny.
But during the same time too, it was around the same time I think we start seeing more of Vax's visions, or it might have happened a little earlier, but we get another vision where he sees some man dying in bed, and then it seems like he's there, like maybe he's just there to observe, or maybe he's there to collect. Oh wait, no, he's an undead wight behind himself in a flash, and then it's gone. they're really playing up some of the horror elements around Vax now. I kind of dug that. So then, basically, as Keyleth was, as they're walking along the next day, Keyleth, no, it wasn't Keyleth. It was Scanlan, has activated the broom that Vex realized had a power word basically written across it. And he's flying around and he noticed something going on with the nearby volcano that's supposed to be dormant, and it's not. And it spooks Keyleth. And they're all like, well, Keyleth, we have other things to do than to go check out this volcano, which has the fire Ashari of her people. And she decides, you know what? Screw them. She's going to her people. Which turned out to be a very good call. So she runs off. And when she does, she runs across in Pyra, Allura from season 1, Kima from season 1, and then her own father. All there at this location. And they learn a very key piece of information involving the Chroma Conclave. Well, several key pieces, mostly involving Thordak, which had they not gone there, they wouldn't have gotten. So one, Thordak had been banished to the plane of fire by Allura, Kima, and other adventurers back in the day. I actually think Keyleth's dad might have been involved in that. Either that or it was Sir Konos, who was the Fire Ashari leader.
Okay.
And they used a gem called the Soul Anchor to do it. So he was pulled into the fire plane, and then they sealed the rift so he couldn't get out. So we have an ancient red dragon who was locked on a plane of fire for a couple of decades at least. Maybe only 10. Might have only been a decade. Because I do believe he was involved in something that we're going to find out about soon. And so it might have only been 10 or so years. But still, that's a long time for a fire being to be locked on a fire plane. So I feel like that could have helped power him up some.
It's like throwing Superman in the sun.
And then what happened in Pyra was he broke himself out of the fire plane by ripping the rift back open, and by doing so, it's unleashed the plane of fire into this volcano, which is destroying this city. Around this time, as she's learning this, the rest of the crew show up, and Vex and Scanlan have a little bit of an interchange about the broom, and he eventually agrees, to give her the broom in exchange for a favor. And she agreed to it.
It pisses me off, though. Like the opening scene where the shopkeeper was like, just take everything. And like everything that Scanlan was reaching for, they're like, nope, nope, nope. And they're like snatching stuff like as he's reaching for it. The only thing he got was that broom. And then someone was like, hey, can I have the broom?
I'll tell you an amusing anecdote after I get through this about the broom.
Okay.
It goes into something I mentioned in the previous episode, though. But basically, they're starting to help rein in, I guess, the problem with all these fire creatures. We get another insight again into Craven's Edge, as he seems to be not happy about feeding on the fire blood of these creatures. And he's kind of indicating to Grog, yeah, you better find me something better. And he pointed ominously, I think, at Pike around that time.
Well, I think that was also where he was like, if you don't feed me, then I'll feed myself.
And he sapped strength from Grog.
Yeah, and then like his arms turned like all like his primary arm turned like wilted.
Yeah, so it's very, very underhanded about, or not even underhanded or understated. It's being very overstated. This is not a good weapon. Although the warnings are coming true, and it's very obvious something bad might happen. And then basically it leads up to Keyleth, who's been showing all of her uncertainties because she's been not doing the path to complete her journey to become the leader of her people. And so she, in her uncertainty, is failing to help her father seal the rift. And then she remembers in a moment of her failure, the words of her mother. And she's always strongest when she's kind of lets her emotions break free. Mm-hmm. Whenever she becomes emotional and lets like the purity and the rage and the strength of her emotions course through her, her power really kind of shines and exudes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, again, in that moment where she's accepting she might not know, but she knows she needs to do something. And she shoves her hands in there. And I can't help but think of Buffy's Walk Through the Fire song in that moment as she walks literally through the fire into the fireplace, absorbs the fire basically into her being, becomes a giant fire elemental, shuts the rift, and then has learned the plane shift spell in the same time and crosses back over, which was kind of cool.
It seems she's always strongest when she's like full of like complete self-doubt, and right when she's to the point of like basically breaking down is when she has her breakthroughs.
Yeah. And I have a struggle with Keyleth sometimes, personally, but this was a good moment where she got to shine.
Well, it was also when you told me that the player of the character was also new to the game.
Yes,
and
Marcia was
games.
very new.
So yeah, I can jive with that better now. But it's kind of like if you start a job and you're nervous you're going to break something or do something wrong when you've been doing the job for. Start off at a level 1 clerk and now you're like a level 12 clerk. Yeah, you shouldn't still be like, oh, I don't know about this.
No, I get that. Yeah. So, but that's effectively the main scope of the episode this time around. Quick, before I start asking questions, I want to give you that anecdote about the broom. So in the previous episode of our discussion, I mentioned that Matt did play with alignments, and he force shifted Laura. Well, one of the things that I think helped lead to her force shift of alignment from chaotic good to chaotic neutral was they did not obtain the broom from Gilmore in the game. They had a guest star who happened to have a broom of riding. And Laura got very jealous. Laura stole the broom from the player at the end of his guest starring bid and kept it for herself, and then lied to the other player saying, oh, it got lost, it fell into it. And it was, this guy was playing like, I can't remember his class, but he basically was like a hermit who made candles and wrote and had a broom. Like he was a very kind of like, oh, I just want to help people. Look, I made candles, and he happened to have a broom, and that Laura stole the item from somebody who had helped them and did good things for them.
So it was a player character?
It was a player character, but it was a guest player character.
And they knew that the character wasn't coming back?
I think so, but that doesn't necessarily make it a good act to steal it consciously when the person had done good kindness to them.
So 2 things about that. First off, it's good that Keyleth made them go to the crater, or otherwise the party might have lost the encounter by 3 points. The other thing is it reminds me of when we were playing the 4th ed game and we were all power starved. And
you mean loot starved? Yeah,
loot starved, and we're 10th level characters, and then Shane had his buddy come in for a one shot and like made the character with like the character builder in and like the guy showed up bristling with magic items, and Shane was like, well, this is what it said he should have. And like the entire time we're playing, our characters are looking at his character covetously, and we knew he wasn't coming back after that game, and we started asking, so is it okay if we kill him at the end of the game and take his stuff? We were joking in the beginning. And then we saw how much his character really had, and then that's when we started basically poking our GM.
I think Shane just arbitrarily had his character accidentally die at the start of the next session, so we could loot him because he felt bad. But in our DM's favor, or you know, he did not fully understand the loot parcel rules because they weren't clearly written in my understanding for 4E. Yeah. So he had unintentionally loot starved us, but by doing so, he made us the most well-oiled machine that anybody could probably find for a party. So there wasn't much that we couldn't figure out how to do just by not having the loot to do it.
Yeah, we really did. Like the amount of magic that we didn't have, we figured out how to make our characters like jive off of each other. It didn't matter what the initiative order was. We knew what we were going to do, and we knew that we could lean on the other person. Yeah. So if there was ever a party of like who could trust the other person, it was that party. By the end of the game, he threw us up against 2 avatars of a god, and we smoked them because we were so ready for battle.
But getting back to Legend of Vox Machina.
Sorry, it just reminded me of that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but like I said,
and we love you, Shane. You're a great GM.
But getting back to the Legend of Vox Machina, Vex did in the campaign steal the bow or broom, and so that was one of the things. Like, she did a lot of stuff that was kind of like that. So Matt kind of kept track of it, and when she had made too many selfishly greedy, motivated,
he put her on notice.
He shifted her to chaotic neutral, and then she had to basically atone without an atonement to work it back to chaotic good, because she didn't like being bumped. But she had earned it.
I like it better how they're doing it in the show.
Yes, it's a lot better that so that was why she got the broom. I always knew she was going to get the broom. I knew it wasn't staying with Scanlan. But Scanlan was the one who taught her the power word on the broom and did extort a favor from her. And I will not tell you what that favor was in case
that was my next question. Do you know what the favor is?
If it's the same, yes. If they change it, no.
All right.
So, did any character or scene stand out to you this time around?
Keyleth.
Keyleth.
I liked seeing this side of her. I liked seeing the shore side of her. I felt bad when her father was like, "Oh, you've come back, so you've mastered your craft, and you can help me close this rift." And she was like, "I don't know." And then when she was put in the moment, and like all the chips were down, and she looked around and saw that people were basically dying, and more of these things were coming through, is when she basically kind of upped her game.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Seeing what she looked like on the other side of the portal was very impressive. What she did, and then plane shifting out of it, because like when the portal closed, everyone's like, "No," and then all of a sudden she's like, "Hey guys, what's up?" So I think that she was the star of the episode. Of course, she was supposed to be, because this was her character moment. But yeah, no, she's the one that stood out. How about you?
For me, probably Grog. I really like the Craven's Edge story. Knowing where it was going in the campaign, I'm liking seeing some of the variances to it, and I think Travis is selling both the want and the greed for wanting to use such a powerful item that would enhance him so well, to the scary realization of he knows he's getting it over his head, but he doesn't know how to ask for the help. So I like that dichotomy that they're presenting. And so Grog's kind of standing out to me for that.
A lot of GMs in the past that I've played with have never given you the big items. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone have like a +5 Holy Avenger. There was only one game, and I have an amusing story on that. Hire me for a voice acting role, and I'll tell you the story. It's worth it. But like, I remember I did have one GM named Charles, where I asked him, it was like, "Can I have like an intelligent weapon?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you think you can hold on to it?" And I was like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Well, I guess we'll find out," and gave me an intelligent weapon. And then my character very quickly learned it's not the best idea to have a second mind that's constantly questioning your wants and needs. Yeah, I had a sword called Mindbender, and it was cursed, and I didn't think it was cursed. It was like I was doing great damage with it. And then by the end of that, near the middle of that campaign, after I had fucked up enough with it, my character walked to the edge of a cliff, looked at the sword, threw it over the cliff, and watched it sail into the ocean. And then my character watched it for a minute, and then Charles goes, "You dive into the ocean, and you're looking for it. You can't find it. And then you swim up to the sides, and now you're obsessed wanting to find it. And then next thing you know, a shark breaches the water with the sword sticking out the side of it, flops up on the beach, and then I pick the sword up." So it was cursed. I couldn't get rid of it. It was locked to me. So like now, I think any player worth its salt, when you walk through a dungeon, if you see the sword that has like the big glittery gem on the top sticking out of the treasure pile, you're just like,
No, not Grog. Not Grog.
No, especially like a sword that's basically saying, "Feed me, hungry, more blood." Yeah, it's Black Ebon. You kill things, you go into like a berserking rage, and it heals you. Yeah, it's probably bad.
Oh no, it's totally bad. But for Grog, he's not going to question it.
It makes him strong.
Yeah, exactly. The simple creature, simple wants, simple needs.
He's about to learn.
Yeah. but it's standing out for me in that regard. I've been really enjoying the nuance of the performance that Travis is giving.
I love Travis. I think he's great. I think he's one of my favorites on the show. I like them all, especially Taliesin. I really like him as well.
You would like Taliesin. He voices Barry Allen in some of the Injustice games.
Yeah. He's cool. I like him. I like all of them, really. I think all the players are great. It's just, I like certain players more in certain campaigns. What little I've seen. Now, keep in mind, I know these people because, like, I'll walk through a room while she's watching, like, the YouTube videos. Yeah. And I'll occasionally stop and go, who's that? Who's this? Who's that? And they'll have the portraits at the bottom. And I love how colorful the character is. And I saw something in the opening that you were like, a thing happens. So I know a thing that happens, but I'll pretend I don't. Anyways, these guys are going to be on top for a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think they deserve it. Like, they've worked very hard. The campaigns are very good. Matt Mercer, you are not supposed to be that pretty and that good at D&D. That's not how it works. That's not how being a nerd works. You're supposed to be a little not good looking but you're the full package. You're a great GM. You've got great players.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, they're on top of the world right now, and I think they well deserve it.
Yeah.
How about you? What would you do if you walked up and saw the weapon and, like, as soon as you picked it up, it was like, hi?
Am I Amber or am I a character?
Pick any character, like, just put it in your mind. Let's say your last D&D character.
Calliope. Calliope be like, hi, and probably keep it because Calliope is insane and you already knew that.
Okay.
Don't give the character that has been touched by the far realm a weapon that's going to be like, here, I want you to feed me, because if it's got a telepathic communication with her and it can understand, and it's intelligent enough to understand that she's got some sort of psychosis already, it could play into the psychosis. You already know that.
I did do that in the Mr. Widget voice too, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, so
okay.
she would be like, hi, and then be like, feed you? Okay, who do you want to feed? Oh no, we don't want to do that. But we'll find one of your enemies, because she already has a list of enemies for Mr. Widget. So if she thinks it's an instrument of Mr. Widget, she's going to take it and go kill all the people she's already been building a list of who she wants to kill in game. You realize I've been keeping a list of people she wants to murder in game since day one.
Well, I'm well aware. And I know every single time I'm like, here's a new NPC, and you're like, yep, I'm putting him on the list. I know.
No, different NPCs end up on different lists. There's the ones that she likes, and the ones she doesn't, and she blames it all on Mr.
For the most part, anybody I introduce, your character goes and squints at him, and then talks massive amounts of shit, and then does not understand why they don't like her later on. Your character's psychotic. And
yeah, I know, it's just so much
and the
fun.
party needs to bring you in check.
Yeah, they have it.
How about if you picked up the sword and it went, welcome to a world of pain?
She'd probably scream and drop it.
Okay. That's what I feel like it is with every time, like, the things like, I hunger. Like, in the beginning of the campaign or at the beginning of the episodes, I liked how he thought it was like the voice in the back of his head where it was like, I hunger. And he's like, yeah, I could eat.
Yeah.
You know, like.
And he's been realizing, and like I said, he understands there's something more going on, but he doesn't know how to bring it up.
Didn't you say his intelligence score was like 6?
Yes.
So 3 is dog.
Yes. He's at like almost the bare minimum for a playable character.
It's like -2, right? Yeah, so like 3 is dog. 4 is the step above, like I imagine that's parrot. But yeah, like 10 is average human intelligence.
Mm-hmm. And again, Travis struggled to sometimes play a 6 because he would figure things out, but then he'd be like, Grog shouldn't have figured this out. And so there were times where Travis struggled playing the dumb one.
Oh, trust me, it's my character is. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, and when I play like magic users, and it's like things should be obvious to me, I will just poke at it until someone goes, maybe it's this, and I'll be like, yes, that. Maybe it's that. but it's sometimes it's hard to play dumb when you're smart, and it's hard to play smart when you're dumb. So, but that guy strikes me as very, very smart, and I love the way he's playing his character. I love the voice acting he does. Grog's voice is fantastic, and I love how happy he gets whenever he, like it's time to murder stuff. Yeah, this show is chef's kiss. It's great. I hate to sit here and blow the show the entire time, especially after the first season. I was like, yeah, it was good. And then the second season started, and I was like, holy shit. I'm gonna let the dog finish tap dancing.
I think she's good.
Yeah, okay, there it is. But how about you? Is there anything that you wanted to bring up? Like anything that was over the top?
No. Like I said, I mean, again, this episode, on the heels of the episode 4, not one that is going to stand out to me, and one that's like, ooh, I absolutely loved it. It's Keyleth again is not one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. A lot of my if I were to rank the characters, certain characters are falling towards the bottom, largely due to like their overall storyline for the entirety of campaign 1. And some of them just hit some tropes or some themes that don't resonate well for me personally, and I don't know that they would have resonated well for me even at a younger age. Some discussion could be made, but for the most part, I'm attracted to certain levels of play and characters, and so for me, this episode doesn't really stand out overall to me. But again, I'm not big on Keyleth, and again, I'm not knocking the way Marsh played her. I'm not knocking her as a character. It's a personal thing. I grew up as a very smart girl, and I feel like Keyleth is very intelligent, very wise, and very powerful. I grew up with the confidence to back up my intelligence, and I feel like Keyleth not having her confidence doesn't allow me to relate or identify well with her, because I was self-assured in my knowledge and what I could do as a teenager as I was in college. And to watch somebody who clearly has the power and capability and just be constantly racked with self-doubt, I don't relate to that, and it's not an attractive quality to me. If I'm going to sit there and go, I want to be attracted, I want to learn about characters that I could, if it's going to be relatable to me, I want it. And I'm going to be harsher, more than likely than not, on the female players in their characters, and not because they're female players, but because as a female player in a male-dominated hobby for the longest time, there's a lot of tropes that rub me the wrong way sometimes. And that's not, again, a knock against them. That's a personal thing for me. We can be different people and enjoy different things about the same thing, and agree that it's something we all enjoy.
Word. Well said, baby. Well said. Was there anything else you want to add?
Nope. I'm good.
All right. Well, I guess we should end this episode in a nice, neat bow.
All right. Well, until next time.
Don't split the party. And I hunger. I could eat.
I hunger. Feed me.
Don't fucking stare at me like that and say that. That's creepy as hell.
Bye.